Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. Something a bit different. This got mounted with the Welsh moss, which was alive at the time. Due to its nature in the winter, the plant had to be kept quite a bit drier in the winter, as is the wont with many Dendrobiums, and the moss died. The green here might actually be live moss, but it could be algae. I think it might be alive, but it's stopped growing. The only new growth it's produced rotted, and it's done nothing since, and that's quite a long time. And it's started to grow some roots. So it's coming off this mount first and foremost. This is where we find out underneath it's got some really nice roots and they're all attached. Who knows? I want to try and take it off carefully because there are some new roots growing. Oh, it's going to come off in a lump. Marvellous. Yeah, see, there's virtually no attachment there. So it's not growing well, it's not happy. But, as I said, it does have... I was just going to say it's absolutely riddled with snails, but these are lacquer beads from what it was potted in before. These roots are dead. These are all dead. So let's take them off and the moss will come off with it, with any luck. That's a large amount of roots that have died. So they weren't happy in this moss. I'm just trying to make sure we don't take any live ones off, if at all possible. Although most of them do seem to be round the front of the mount. Around there. Yeah, there's quite a mushroomy smell going on here as well. Got a root down here with one live bit on it. So I haven't even got the fishing line out yet. Just trying to work round the back with the bits I can see round the back first, and we'll move round the front and see what else we can do. If a small amount of this moss stays on, it's not the end of the world, but I'd rather we sort of cleaned the base of the plant up a bit and gave these new roots something to grow in, and that's something I haven't decided on yet, but most of the moss has come off quite nicely. The base of this plant is very wet as well. Now I have just watered it, but it's wet, not I've just got wet because it's been watered, it's wet holding water. So bordering on the soggy. Right, that'll do because there's a live root down there which I don't want to lose. And it's actually got two shoots coming out and a third one starting. So that's what we've got. Now when I planted this I decided it was going to go upside down because it looked like it would arch over anyway, but on reflection it's not that type of plant. This plant should be growing upright. It's not a cascade type plant, although the blooms are. So we need to plant it upright. So the next thing is, will these shoots bend up and not break? I wonder. Well, one way to find out, we will gather it together gently and see what happens. We've got 4 canes here. Yep. They will gather together. They are under tension, but it's not that bad. They're not going to snap. So what do we do then? In a pot or back on the mount? I think we'll try it in a pot. So now I've got to find one. Right, so we're not going back on the mount, we'll try it in a pot. So I'll pop it down there, clear up, find a suitable pot, and then we'll get this potted up and try it. Like I've always said, you try something and it doesn't work, keep doing the same thing over and over again. It isn't suddenly going to start working, I don't think. In the normal case of events, it's going to get worse, not better. Woo! Trip over the heater, I don't you? Right, so I'll be back. Okay, I'm going to go with the high ventilation pot. This is a bit of a manky pot, it's a bit broken near the bottom here, but the bottom of the pot is going to be large bark and nothing else. So that's like, you might call that overcrocking, but this is a thick fleshy rooted orchid, and thick fleshy roots do well in an open based bark mix or anything else inorganic, but large fleshy roots tend to like more air around them than the very fine rooted orchids. So that's the bulk of it, and then round the top of the plant I've got some small bark with some broken up moss to try and encourage these roots to push on now. So the first thing I'm going to do is put a piece of wire around these canes. This should work. No reason why it shouldn't. Now I'm just going to go, so I'll try and do this on camera, but I'm just going to make a loop around one of the canes. Not tight, this is just to give it an anchorage basically. That's all that bit is for. So that's gone round a cane and it's not tight. And then all I'm going to do is drop everything all over the place. Is just make a loop like that and come back round to where I started. I'll trim that off or I won't be able to bend it. So I'm not finished, this is rough. This is just so that I can pot it. We'll sort it out in a minute. And then the idea is I can adjust this to make a circle and the canes will sit nicely in the circle like that. I'm not squashing the cane. So now all we've got to do is gently, because of that one root that's got shoots sticking out, get this in the pot and all root tips maintained. So no poking and jabbing around. Just get the roots covered up with some moss around them and some small bark to get them growing. Once they start growing, they'll head down into the more open mix. So this is merely to hold them in place. Now, I was half expecting that to stand up on its own, but it's not going to. So we will get a stake, and if we go down through where that wire loop is, and then go into the pot, it should hold everything steady. So it's very difficult getting the cane down through chunky bark. That's sort of done it. It is a little wobbly, but I've got active roots and I think those roots will get going reasonably quick, but it's more wobbly than I like. Every time I grab hold of this pot, everything's going to start moving around, which is not good. Now I've pushed it over, it's starting to lean, which means it's top heavy in one place only. This is not playing ball at all. needs must. I'm not so worried about what it looks like at the moment. I'm more interested in getting it stable. And half the problem is that I can't get a stake to be stable. Without a stable stake you can't hold the plant stable. How's that? Has that got it? You see the stake's wobbling around all over the place. There's no basis for a stake to go in there and stay still. Next idea then, because that's just not working. Let's try going down the middle of the pot. Just need to get one stake in firmly. And then just put that wire loop around it. It's all over the place. Next idea then. Much thicker stake. Thicker stake might grab hold easier. Might be more stable. That's a bit better. So give this 3 or 4 weeks and it will be fine. It's just at the moment it's just unstable. See if I can get another big thick one down in the pot. That's got it. Yay! It's still slightly lopsided though, that's the problem. It's the pot's bone dry, don't forget, and that will be dealt with immediately. Just get these loose ends out of the way. That stake's doing nothing, that can come off. Which means that piece of wire can come off. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to grab hold of that cane. That's the one that's flopping over. And pull it inside there. And just use a piece of wire with a hook to gently go round another part of the plant to pull it in towards the middle so that it remains more upright, and that should stop it being top heavy. There we go. Yeah, it's this one hanging over that's causing the problems. Right, so we will give that a good watering now. This moss was dry, so it will need a good soaking, and then it will need another good soaking tomorrow because the moss will draw the water out of the small bark, and then we end up with dry patches. So I can stop that happening too bad by putting a bit of bark on top of the moss. Hands up all those who know which channel does that all the time. Bark on top of moss. Every repot virtually. Well, just because somebody else does it, they haven't got a patent on it. We are allowed to copy. But it is a logical thing to do. The moss then won't dry out so fast. In theory, as I said, I haven't done it in practice, but get the rest of this in the pot. It's not doing that. Any good sat in there, is it? Just get the rest of that in there. Right, good watering now, and I forgot to tell you what it is. It's Dendrobium amabile. Never bloomed for me, but what sold it to me originally was the blooms and the style. It's one of those Dendrobiums that's a bit like Farmeri. I had a cross with Farmeri in it once. It grows a spike out of the side of the cane, somewhere in between the leaves normally, that grows at a colossal rate, is pendulous, has lots of flowers on, and then they all open almost immediately at once. Yeah? And they last a reasonable amount of time. But I'll I'll borrow a picture off the internet so you can see what I'm talking about as far as the blooms are concerned, and I promise I'll put it back when I've finished with it. And it would be nice to see it bloom, but I don't think it's in a healthy enough state to bloom without a much better root system. And hopefully those root tips will now push on and branch. It is a branching root system. And we start getting some roots established, then we might get a new growth from the base, which would be even better. But the previous growth I grew is this one, and that's got 4 leaves on, which is about normal. Sometimes only 2, sometimes 3, 4, sometimes as many as 5. Always at the top. They look quite like Latoria types, but they're not. Anyway, so that's it, Dendrobium amabile, and we'll see if it does better like this, because it certainly wasn't doing very well on that mount. Well, we'll have a progress update down the line sometime. And now it's getting warm in here, all the fans are off. The sun came out about half an hour for 10 minutes and took this up 4 degrees. See, if I'd got on and done it earlier, it would have been cooler, wouldn't it? But we've had a lot of rain, which is good. I haven't got to go out watering. And we've had 1 shower so far today that was negligible. It lasted about 10 minutes, so hardly worth bothering. But looking at the bed, you know, where the mulch isn't, it's still wet. So the new plants that have been planted have not dried out. They're okay. And I'm hoping we had more than enough rain to have watered the bonsai properly. Anyway, it's tennis time. Is it tennis time yet? Oh, it's gone tennis time. And we're up to sort of finals and stuff today. So yes, well, that's my bit of work for today. Sunday, tomorrow, Sunday chat, and we're going to be looking at my cymbidiums. If I can find somewhere to put them. I'm going to have to clear everything out of the way to get them in, you know, because they're large plants. Which is why a lot of people don't grow them, and in the past why I haven't grown them. But we'll have a chat about my change of heart, and part of the reason why is where I am. See you tomorrow. Thanks for dropping by.